drinking water question. It's not, we have made major progress on this. The previous environmental impact statement basically said you can drill pretty much anywhere in the state. This one is now proposing to restrict drilling such that you cannot actually drill in the areas around the watershed, which is progress. The big question now is, how far out of the watershed areas do you need to be, and more importantly, what is going to be the effect of the infrastructure that delivers the water from those areas to our taps? And that's something that we've had a lot of testimony on already, and we've actually sat down with DEP recently, and we're working on a possible legislative approach to that as well.
This is not a science. This is reckless endangerment. This could harm the greatest city on earth if speculators get a hold of the land and start puncturing the earth, all for profit and not to be smart about our environment. Now, people say to me, well, you know, New York State has a budget deficit. Natural gas can play an important role in certainly converting of dirty boilers and things like that. And people say, well, at what point should we think about all of this natural gas that is in upstate New York? And I always say to them, we should do as the Israelis do. Because Israel recently found that they have tremendous deposits of natural gas in Israel. But the Israelis, who clearly would want to get in quickly and start hydrofracking, they've taken the position that yes, we know we have these deposits, but we also recognize that the science is not tested. There is no reason to do something that has been proven to harm communities, water streams, wild fishery, all over the United States of America. We should be better than that, and we should be smart. Now, this is one fight we are going to win. And we're going to win this because the smartest people have organized around the city and around the state. And leaders like Brian and Liz are fighting on a state level. We're doing what we can on a city level, but we can do more now. And we were able to get another hearing in New York on November 30th. We've got to turn people on and we've got to turn people out.
I'd like to name one very important person in this, and that's Murphy. You know Murphy's Law? Okay. If something can go wrong, it will go wrong. Wasn't Fukushima supposed to be meeting all safety standards? Okay. So even if we had rules and regulations in place, I don't think we can count on those kind of regulations with a process which is so invasive, so dangerous. I don't think that if we have a sincere and thorough study of whether hydrofracking can be done safely, that we would ever find that it could be done safely. Usually you would have the environmental impact statement out there first, and then only at the end of the road, after all the comments are received and analyzed, would the new regulations be drafted, okay? And in this case, it seems that the DEC has released the draft regulations before the close of the Ask comment period, and it appears to be just part of this attempt to fast track and to kind of tell us, you know, that fracking in New York State is going to be a done deal.
We had a landslide victory yesterday, and I'm not going to go into details. In Dryden, elected officials that were elected and are definitely going to be anti-fracking, so that's going to help with the cause.
I would like to read a statement on behalf of Claire Sandberg, our executive director. She can't be here tonight. I also want to thank the Senator for co-sponsoring a ban on fracking in New York State. For several years, a critical area of focus in the debate on hydraulic fracturing has been potential disasters for New York City's water supply. This past July, the Department of Environmental Conservation sought to put fears to rest with a declaration that New York City's drinking water would receive special protections, with a 1,000-foot buffer zone surrounding New York City watershed. However, claims that New York City is out of the woods and no longer has a stake in this issue deserve greater scrutiny. First, the claim that New York City's water is now protected by this 1,000-foot buffer zone is not supported by the available science. The New York City Department of Environmental Protection has stated that a 7-mile buffer zone is needed to protect the delicate infrastructure of aqueducts and tunnels New York City relies on to deliver our water from the Delaware and Catskill watersheds. 1,000 feet versus 7 miles is a major difference, and DC owes it to the public to investigate this disparity. And I just want to be clear that the 1,000 feet is in regards to distance from New York City infrastructure and aqueducts. Even if fracking were prohibited within the 7-mile buffer zone, the risk of contamination from truck accidents and spills would still be enormous. The New York City DEP estimated that the amount of fracking chemicals used to hydraulically fracture just one well will contaminate an entire New York City reservoir under drought conditions. The potential for contamination of our watershed also poses serious economic consequences. Damage to the aqueducts and tunnels that deliver our water will cost billions to repair. Beyond the issue of water contamination, fracking poses severe threats to New York City's air quality and public health. Scientific reports show that airborne contaminants from gas drilling can travel up to 200 miles from the well site. With estimates of 77,000 gas wells proposed for New York State, New York City will experience major impacts to its air quality from an estimated 77 million total truck trips expected across the state, as well as hazardous chemicals like benzene, toluene, which would create a highly toxic smog that would travel to New York via jet stream. The toxic smog created from fracking contains large amounts of ultrafine particles, soot, ozone, and known carcinogens. In adults, these pollutants are linked to bladder, lung, and breast cancer, stroke, diabetes, and premature death. In children, they are linked to premature birth, asthma, cognitive deficits, and stunted lung development. Exposure to this toxic smog has been a cause of serious concern in Flower Mound, Texas, where breast cancer rates have increased dramatically in the 6 counties where drilling and production of natural gas has been the most prominent. With indications that fracking generates so much ozone that even Sublette County, Wyoming, is reported to have ozone levels as high as Los Angeles thanks to natural gas drilling. New York City residents should reject all assertions that fracking is just an upstate issue with no relevance to downstate citizens. New York City has every reason to raise alarm, not just on the efficacy of proposed regulations, but on whether fracking is worth it for New York State at all. Thank you to the Senator and the Assemblyman.